A poor mother and her daughter lose their home for not paying the rent, until a billionaire appears and changes their lives forever. The door shut with a dry, final sound. Sarah stood on the sidewalk, holding her worn backpack in one hand and Emma's hand in the other. The little girl clutched her old teddy bear to her chest, her blue eyes wide. "Mommy," Emma whispered. "It's okay, sweetie," Sarah lied, her voice weaker than she wished. It was not okay. Nothing had been okay for months. The landlord had been clear. 3 months overdue was the limit. He even apologized, said he had bills to pay too, that he understood her situation. But the deadline was up. Sarah begged for one more week. Just one. She had lined up 2 cleaning jobs for the weekend. It wouldn't cover the full amount, but it was something. He shook his head. No chance. Now they were out here, on the street, with everything they owned packed into 2 old backpacks. Sarah looked around. The afternoon was fading, the sky was turning orange on the horizon, but she barely noticed its beauty. She only felt the weight in her chest, the sensation of sinking. "Let's walk for a bit," she said, forcing a smile. Emma nodded, but didn't let go of her teddy bear. They started walking. Sarah wasn't exactly sure where to go. She just knew she needed a place to think, to breathe, to try to figure out what to do next. Without a car, without money for transit, walking was their only option. The neighborhood was quiet. A few kids were playing further down the street. A man was washing his car. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed to work out for everyone else, except for them. Sarah gripped the strap of her backpack. 3 months without a steady job. 3 months doing odd cleaning jobs here and there, never quite enough. 3 months watching Emma eat less, sleep cold, and ask when things would get better. And now this. "Mommy, where are we going?" Emma asked again, her voice tiny. "To the park," Sarah quickly replied. "We'll sit for a while, okay?" Emma said nothing. She just kept walking, her little steps trying to keep up with Sarah's. The park was about 20 minutes away. Sarah knew the spot well. She had taken Emma there a few times, back when they still had a home, when they could still pretend everything was normal. Now the park felt different. It felt like a dead end. They arrived as the sun was nearly gone. There were a few scattered wooden benches, an empty playground area, old trees that provided shade during the day. Sarah chose a secluded bench and sat down. Emma climbed up beside her, tucking her legs in and hugging the teddy bear tightly. "Are you hungry?" Sarah asked, opening her backpack a little. Sarah pulled out a bruised apple and broke it in half. She gave the larger part to Emma. "Eat slowly." Emma bit into the fruit without complaint. Sarah ate her share in silence, staring blankly ahead. What was she going to do now? She had no family. Her mother had died a year ago. Her father had never been around. Sarah's ex-boyfriend had disappeared before Emma turned 2. Friends. She had 1 or 2, but none who could afford to shelter them both. They had helped before, but everyone has limits. Sarah felt her eyes burn. She couldn't cry. Not now. Not in front of Emma. "Mommy." The girl's voice trembled. "Where are we sleeping tonight?" The question came softly, almost a whisper, but it cut Sarah like a knife. She looked at her daughter, her clear eyes full of fear, her messy blonde hair, the worn teddy bear she had gotten years ago, the only toy that had survived everything. Sarah swallowed hard. "I'll figure it out, love. I promise." But her voice cracked at the end. And Emma noticed. The girl didn't cry, she just stayed quiet, looking at the trees. Sarah put her arm around her and pulled her close. They stayed like that for a few minutes, in silence, as the park slowly grew darker. That was when Sarah realized Emma didn't have her notebook. "Where's your sketch pad?" Emma's eyes widened. I think I dropped it." Sarah's stomach tightened. That notebook was important. Emma drew in it every day. It was one of the few things that made her smile. "Where do you think you left it?" "On the path, I think." Sarah was about to get up to look when she saw a man approaching. He was holding something in his hand. She tensed instantly. Instinct. Protection. The man stopped a few feet away. He wore simple but well-kept clothes. He looked to be in his early 30s, dark hair, calm expression. "Sorry to bother you," he said, raising the hand that held the notebook. "Is this yours?" Emma instantly lit up. My notebook? Sarah quickly stood up, putting herself between Emma and the stranger. Yes, thank you, she said, holding out her hand. The man handed over the notebook. Sarah took it and gave it to Emma, who hugged the object like it was gold. Thank you, sir, Emma said, smiling for the first time that day. The man smiled back, but his eyes moved to the backpacks beside the bench, then to Sarah, then back to Emma. Sarah saw when his expression changed, when he understood. Do you need help? He asked, his voice careful. Sarah felt her face flush. We're fine. I don't mean to be intrusive, he continued, taking a step back, but it looks like you're in a tough spot. Sarah crossed her arms. We'll manage. The man nodded slowly, but didn't leave. He seemed genuinely concerned, not with that fake pity Sarah had seen before. This was different. Look, I know you don't know me. I know it sounds strange, but, he sighed, I received help in the past, when my mother and I had nothing. Today, I'm in a position to help. I can help you. Sarah gave a humorless laugh. No, thank you. Mommy, Emma started. Emma, quiet. The man ran a hand through his hair, clearly uncomfortable, but he insisted. I understand the distrust. Seriously. If it were my daughter, I wouldn't accept help from a stranger either, but, he sighed, I was helped in the past, when my mom and I had nothing. Today I have means. I can help you. Sarah stared at him. She searched for signs, second intentions, danger, but she only saw sincerity. Even so, she couldn't risk Emma like that. Thank you, but no. The man nodded, respecting her decision. He didn't push, he didn't insist invasively. All right, but... He took a card from his pocket and placed it on the bench. If you change your mind, my number is here. Any time. He took a few more steps back, waved to Emma, and walked away. Sarah watched as he disappeared into the darkness of the park. Emma tugged at her shirt sleeve. Mommy. The voice was so soft she could barely hear it. We don't have anywhere to live. Sarah closed her eyes. She felt the tears well up again. Emma was right. They had no home. They had nowhere to go, and the night was coming. Half an hour later, Sarah was still sitting on the bench, looking at the card. Emma had leaned against her and fallen asleep, too tired to endure any more. The teddy bear was slumped in her lap, the notebook beside them. Sarah looked at her daughter, at her peaceful face in sleep, at her messy blonde hair, at the clothes that were already getting too small. She thought about the cold night ahead, about the crowded shelters she had tried before, about the possibility of sleeping in the park, of waking up with Emma cold, hungry, and afraid. She thought about the promise she had made when Emma was born, to protect her, to care for her, to never let anything bad happen to her. Sarah picked up the card. She read the name, David. She flipped the card over, just the number, nothing else. She didn't know who this man was. She didn't know if she could trust him. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but she knew she had no choice. She picked up her old cell phone with the cracked screen and dialed the number. Her fingers were trembling. The call rang 3 times before he answered. Hello? Sarah took a deep breath. It's Sarah. From the park. Can you still help us? Silence on the other end. Then, his voice, gentle. Yes. Where are you? Still at the park. All right. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Sarah hung up. She looked at sleeping Emma. She felt her heart clench. Was she doing the right thing, or was she putting her daughter in danger? But she had no other option. None at all. David arrived exactly 15 minutes later, driving a simple car. He got out and walked toward the bench slowly, as if afraid to startle them. Hi, he said softly. Sarah was holding Emma in her lap. The girl had woken up when the car stopped, but she didn't say anything. She just watched with sleepy eyes. Hi, Sarah replied, her voice hoarse. David looked at the backpacks. Is that all of it? Sarah nodded. All right, let's go. He took the backpacks and carefully put them in the trunk. He opened the back door for Emma to get in, then he opened the front door for Sarah. She hesitated. Her hand tightened on the strap of the small bag she was still holding. I'll only accept if I can do something in return. David frowned. You don't have to. I do, Sarah cut in, firm. I don't accept charity. I can clean, cook, anything. But I work for what I receive. David was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right. If that's important to you, then that's fine. Sarah felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. At least he respected that. Emma looked at the man from the back seat. You're nice, she said, her voice drowsy. David smiled. Thank you. You too. The house was in a quiet neighborhood, about 20 minutes from the park. It wasn't big or ostentatious, just normal, welcoming. David parked out front and turned off the car. We're here. Sarah got out, helped Emma out, and stood staring at the house. It felt unreal. A few hours ago, she didn't know where she would sleep. Now she was standing in front of a real house. David took the backpacks and opened the front door. Come in, make yourselves comfortable. They walked in slowly. The living room was simple. Beige sofa, bookshelf with books, a small TV. Everything clean, everything organized. But it didn't have that cold air of a rich person's house. It was cozy. You must be hungry, David said, heading toward the kitchen. I'll heat up some soup. There's bread too, and juice. Emma looked at Sarah, asking for permission. Sarah nodded. It's okay to accept. They sat at the kitchen table while David heated the soup on the stove. The smell filled the room. Sarah couldn't even remember the last time she'd eaten something genuinely hot. David served bowls for the three of them. He placed toasted bread next to them. He filled glasses with orange juice. Eat slowly, he said to Emma, who was about to dive into the soup. Emma obeyed, blowing on each spoonful before eating. Her little eyes gleamed with every sip. Sarah ate in silence, but every bite seemed to melt a little of the knot in her stomach. It wasn't just the food, it was the atmosphere, the security, the feeling that, for one night at least, they wouldn't be sleeping outside. She looked at David. He ate calmly, unhurriedly, without asking intrusive questions. Maybe she had made the right decision. After the meal, David led them down the hall to the guest room. It's small, but it has a double bed and the bathroom is right there. He pointed to the door next door. Sarah stepped into the room. Clean sheets, a lamp on the bedside table, a window that looked out onto the backyard, simple curtains, everything tidy. It was perfect. Thank you, she said, her voice failing again. David nodded. You're welcome. Just call if you need anything. My room is at the end of the hall. He was about to leave when he paused at the door and looked at the corner. Oh, let me adjust the heater. It's going to get cold tonight. He walked in, messed with the unit in the corner of the room, and waited until he felt the warm air start to flow out. There. Now it'll be comfortable. Sarah could only nod. The words wouldn't come out. This small gesture, so simple, meant so much. David left, closing the door softly. Emma had already climbed into bed, her teddy bear in her arms. Mommy, the bed is soft. Sarah smiled, her eyes filling with tears she couldn't hold back anymore. It is, sweetie. She smoothed the sheet, pulled the blanket over Emma and lay down beside her. Emma snuggled into Sarah's chest, the teddy bear between them. Mommy? Do you think he's an angel? Sarah looked at the ceiling, feeling a tear roll down her cheek. Maybe, love, maybe. Emma smiled and closed her eyes. Within a few minutes, she was asleep. Her face peaceful, her breathing soft. Sarah stayed awake a little longer, listening to her daughter's breathing, feeling the warmth of the room, the softness of the bed, the weight of the blanket. For the first time in months, she was able to take a deep breath without feeling her chest clench. For the first time in months, she felt that maybe, just maybe, things could work out. She didn't know who David was. She didn't know why he had helped. She didn't know what would happen tomorrow. But she knew that tonight, Emma was safe. She was warm. She was sleeping peacefully. And that, for now, was more than enough. Sarah woke up to the sunlight streaming through the window. For a second, she didn't know where she was. Then she remembered. The park. The card. David. She looked to the side. Emma was still sleeping, hugging her teddy bear. Sarah got up slowly, trying not to make a sound. She put on the same clothes from the day before and left the room. The house was quiet. She walked to the living room and looked around. Everything clean, organized. But it wasn't that cold magazine-worthy cleanliness. It was lived in. She went to the kitchen. She found a broom in the cabinet, cleaning cloths under the sink. She started working. She had given her word. She would clean. She would work for the roof over their heads. She was wiping down the counter when she heard footsteps behind her. "Good morning." Sarah turned around. David was in the doorway, wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt. His hair was messy from sleep. "Good morning," she replied, going back to scrubbing the counter. "You don't have to do that right now." "Yes, I do. We agreed." David was quiet for a moment. "All right. But first, coffee." Sarah hesitated. Then she nodded. He turned on the coffee maker and took bread out of the cupboard. "Toast, please." They were silent while the coffee brewed. It wasn't an awkward silence, just quiet. When the coffee was ready, David filled 2 mugs and put the toast on a plate. "Sit down. Eat first. Then you can work." Sarah was about to protest, but her stomach rumbled. She sat. They ate in silence. Sarah couldn't remember the last time she'd had real coffee. Hot, with fresh toast. "Thank you," she said softly. "You're welcome." That's when Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy." "Good morning, love." "Come here." Emma walked in, still holding her teddy bear. She looked at David with curiosity. "Good morning," she said, her voice still sleepy. "Good morning," David smiled. "Would you like some warm milk with a splash of coffee?" Emma looked at Sarah. Sarah nodded. "It's okay to accept." David prepared a mug of warm milk with a little coffee and put more toast on the table. Emma climbed onto the chair and started eating. After a few sips, she looked at David. "Do you live alone?" "Emma," Sarah started. "It's okay," David interrupted. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Emma, stop asking." "It's no problem," David said again. "So I like living alone. It's peaceful." Emma chewed her toast thoughtfully. "What do you do for work?" David took a sip of coffee. "I work in business. Nothing very interesting." "And why is your house so organized?" Sarah felt her face getting hot. "Emma, enough with the questions." But David laughed. It was the first time Sarah had seen him truly laugh. "Because I like things in order. It helps me think better." Emma nodded as if that made perfect sense. "I like organizing my colored pencils by color too, but I only have 5. David was quiet for a second. "You like to draw." "I love it," Emma cheered. "I draw in my notebook every day." "You found it yesterday, remember?" "I remember." Emma took another sip of milk. "I wish I had more colored pencils and a new notebook. Mine is almost full." Sarah felt a pang in her chest. She wanted so much to give that to Emma, but she couldn't. David didn't say anything, he just nodded. After coffee, Sarah went back to cleaning the house. Emma stayed in the living room, drawing in her old notebook. David disappeared for a few minutes. Sarah was dusting the bookshelf in the living room when he came back with a shoebox in his hands. "Emma." The girl looked up. "Hi." "Come here for a second." Emma got up and walked over to him, curious. David placed the box on the coffee table and opened it. Inside was a new notebook, large, with thick paper and a box of colored pencils. It wasn't one of those giant sets, but it had about 20 colors. Emma's eyes widened. Is this for me?" "It is. I thought you could use it." Emma looked at Sarah, asking for permission. Sarah felt her eyes sting. She didn't know what to say. "It's okay to accept, love." Emma took the notebook carefully, as if it might break. Then she picked up the box of pencils and opened it slowly. "Look, Mommy, it even has pink." Sarah smiled, but the tears ran down anyway. "I see, love." Emma looked at David. "Thank you." "You're welcome." David stood up and went to the corner of the room. He pulled out a small table that was tucked against the wall and put it near the window. He brought over a small chair that was stored away and set it up. There. Now you have your own little spot to draw. Emma ran to the table and sat down. She opened the new notebook to the first page. She picked up a blue pencil. I'm going to make a drawing for you. I'd love to see it. David left the living room, leaving Emma deep in concentration. Sarah had stopped cleaning. She was just watching her daughter, happy, smiling. She felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned around. David was there. I'm sorry if I overstepped, he said softly, but she seemed to want it so much. Sarah shook her head, wiping away her tears. No, you didn't. It was lovely. Thank you. David nodded and went to the kitchen. Sarah stayed there, watching Emma draw. The girl bit her lip, concentrating, choosing each color carefully. It had been so long since Sarah had seen her daughter like this. Relaxed, happy, and all because of a stranger who had decided to help. Sarah went back to cleaning, but now with a smile on her face, a small but real smile. For the first time in a long time, she felt something close to hope. By the end of the afternoon, the house was spotless. Sarah had cleaned every room, wiped everything down, organized what was messy. She worked non-stop. David appeared in the living room. You didn't have to do all that in one day. I wanted to. He looked around. It looks incredible. Thank you. Sarah nodded. Emma was still in her little corner, drawing. She had already finished 3 drawings, one with flowers, one with a dog, and one with 3 people. She held up the last one and showed it to David. Look, it's the 3 of us. David took the drawing, 3 stick figures, a taller one with long hair, a small one with a teddy bear, and one in the middle. It's beautiful, he said, and his voice was softer. You can keep it. I will keep it safely. He took the drawing and went to his office. He came back with a simple folder and carefully placed the drawing inside. Sarah watched it all. The way he treated Emma, the respect, the kindness. She didn't know what she had done to deserve this help, but she was grateful, truly grateful. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Sarah stayed in the living room with David. They drank tea, they talked little, but the silence was comfortable. When Sarah went to bed, she looked at Emma, at the new notebook on the bedside table, at the organized pencils, and for the first time in a long time, she slept without fear of tomorrow. It had been 3 days since they arrived. Sarah kept her routine, woke up early, cleaned the house, prepared what she could. David never asked for anything, but she insisted. It was important to her. Emma adapted quickly. She spent hours in her corner, drawing. She created whole worlds on those pages. Flowers, houses, animals, people. That morning, Sarah was in the kitchen preparing lunch. David had left early to deal with some work matters. Emma was in the living room in her usual spot. Sarah heard the sound of the pencils being moved, the sound of the paper. Small sighs of concentration. That's when she heard her daughter's voice, softly, almost a whisper. If I had a dad, Mommy wouldn't have to work so hard. Sarah stopped cutting the vegetables. She felt the air leave her lungs. Emma continued drawing, as if she hadn't said anything important, but for Sarah, those words cut deep. She put the knife down on the cutting board. She took a deep breath. She tried to hold back the tears that were already stinging her eyes. She couldn't cry now. Not in front of Emma. She swallowed her sobs. She pressed her lips together. She went back to cutting vegetables, but her hands were trembling. Emma had never talked about her father. She had never asked. Sarah always thought she was too small to understand. But she wasn't. Emma understood. She understood that someone was missing. She understood that Sarah carried everything alone, and that hurt more than anything else. Sarah wiped her tears with the back of her hand and kept cooking. She tried to concentrate on the food, on the rice, on the vegetables, on anything but that sentence. That's when she heard the front door open. "I'm home," David said, walking in. "Hi," Emma replied from the living room, excited. "Look what I made." Sarah heard his footsteps going to the living room. She heard Emma explaining the drawing. Then she heard Emma's voice again, repeating those words. "You know what I was thinking? If I had a dad, Mommy wouldn't have to work so hard." Sarah closed her eyes. She didn't want to hear that again. There was silence, a long silence. Then, David's voice, low, sincere. "Your mom is a hero, you know." Sarah froze. She stood still in the middle of the kitchen, holding the wooden spoon. "Is she?" Emma asked. "She is. She does everything for you. She works, she cares, she protects you, all by herself. That's what a true hero is." Another silence. "But she gets tired," Emma said, her voice softer. "I know. That's why we need to help her, in our own way. You by drawing beautiful things to make her smile. Me by lending a hand when I can. Do you think she knows I love her?" "I'm sure she knows, but you can tell her again." "Everyone likes to hear it." Sarah leaned against the kitchen wall. Tears were falling now, non-stop. She covered her mouth to keep from making a sound. No one had ever said anything like that about her. No one had ever validated what she did. No one had ever seen it. But David saw it, and he told Emma in a way the girl could understand. Sarah wiped her face with her sleeve. She took a deep breath. She tried to compose herself. When she walked into the living room, Emma ran to her. "Mommy, you're a hero." Sarah crouched down and hugged her daughter. She squeezed her tightly. "You are too, love, my hero." Emma pulled back and looked at Sarah. "I love you very much." "I love you too." More than anything, Emma smiled and ran back to her corner. Sarah stayed there, kneeling on the floor. She looked up. David was standing by the window, looking out. "Thank you," she said, her voice coming out rough. He turned around. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You don't know how much that meant." David took a few steps toward her. "I was just telling the truth. You're doing an incredible job, alone, without help. That's impressive." Sarah felt the tears return. "I just do what I can, and that's already a lot." They stood there, still. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of unspoken things, of understanding, of respect. Sarah felt something shift in that moment. It wasn't just gratitude. It was more than that. It was trust. Real trust. She was afraid to trust, afraid to open up, afraid that people would leave when she needed them most. But David was there. He didn't judge. He didn't demand payment. He didn't expect anything in return. He just helped. "I don't know how to thank you," she said again. "You don't have to." "Seriously?" Sarah nodded, but she knew she would never forget those words. That moment. She stood up and went back to the kitchen. She finished preparing lunch, but now the weight on her chest had lessened. Emma kept drawing. David went to his office to work, but something had changed in the house. An invisible thread had formed, connecting the three of them. For the first time in a long time, Sarah felt she wasn't alone, and that made all the difference. That evening, after Emma had fallen asleep, Sarah stood on the porch. The air was cool. The sky was full of stars. David appeared beside her. "Everything okay?" "It is," she replied. And it was true. They stood there, in silence, looking out at the night. Sarah thought about everything that had happened, about how she had ended up there with nothing, desperate, and how now, somehow, things seemed possible again. David. Thank you, truly, for everything." He looked at her. "You don't have to thank me. You both deserve it." Sarah smiled, a small but genuine smile. And for the first time, she believed those words. She deserved it. Emma deserved it. And maybe, just maybe, things really could get better. The sun was setting on the horizon when Sarah stepped out onto the porch. It had been a long day. She had cleaned the whole house again, done the laundry, prepared the meals. She kept up the routine. It was important to her. But now, with Emma asleep early after a day full of drawing, Sarah needed a moment to breathe. The porch was simple. 2 wooden chairs, a low table, a view of the small backyard with a few trees. Sarah sat down and closed her eyes. The cool air hit her face. It was late afternoon, that moment when the day grows tired and the night hasn't yet arrived. "Mind if I join you?" She opened her eyes. David was at the door, holding 2 mugs of tea. Of course. He sat in the chair next to her and handed her a mug. "Thank you." They were silent for a few minutes, just drinking the tea, watching the sky change color, from blue to orange, from orange to pink. Sarah felt the tiredness in her shoulders. But it was a different kind of tiredness. It no longer carried the weight of despair, just life. Then David spoke, his voice low. "What do you miss the most?" Sarah looked at him. The question caught her by surprise. "What do you mean?" "From your life, before everything got hard, what do you miss the most?" Sarah looked at the tea in her mug. She thought about the question. No one asked things like that. People asked if she was okay, if she needed anything, but no one asked what she missed. "Not being afraid," she said, finally. David didn't say anything. He just waited. He didn't fill the silence. He didn't rush her. He just waited. Sarah continued, slowly. "When I was a kid, we didn't have much. My mom raised my brother and me alone. My dad left early. I was little. I barely remember him. But we had enough. We had food. We had a home. We had her." She paused, took a sip of tea. "My mom worked too much. 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She was out all day, came back late, but she always found a way. She always made us feel safe. Like nothing bad could happen as long as she was around. She sounds like an incredible person." She was. The best person I ever knew. Generous, strong. She never complained. She never made us feel guilty about how hard it was. Sarah felt her throat tighten. She took a deep breath. She looked at the sky, which was growing darker. "When she died, a year ago now, everything fell apart. I thought I could handle it, that I would manage. But..." She shook her head. "I didn't have much support before. My brother lives in another state. We talk sometimes, but he has his own life, his own family. Friends helped at first, but everyone has their own problems, their limits." David remained quiet, just listening, without judging, without interrupting. "I was working at a grocery store, cashier. It didn't pay much, but it covered the rent and food. Emma stayed with a neighbor during the day. Everything was working. It wasn't perfect, but it was working." Sarah paused again. She stirred her mug. "But then the store closed, just like that. Bankruptcy, and I was left with nothing. No warning. No savings. Nothing." She felt her voice crack a little. She swallowed hard. "I tried to find something else. Sent my resume everywhere. Supermarket, store, diner, anything. But it's hard. Everyone wants recent experience, references, full availability. I had none of that. I had a small daughter, limited hours, and no up-to-date references." David looked at her but didn't say anything. He just kept listening. "So I started cleaning. Odd jobs, here and there. One house today, another next week. Sometimes it was enough to pay the bills, sometimes it wasn't. And the rent started falling behind, 1 month, 2, 3. And the landlord ran out of patience. No. He was patient, more than I deserved. He gave me time. He gave me a chance. But he also has bills. A family? I understand. I don't hold any resentment towards him." David tilted his head slightly. "You don't deserve to go through this." Sarah gave a sad smile. "Life doesn't really care what we deserve. It just happens. Maybe. But you didn't give up. Oh, you kept fighting. For her, every single day." Sarah felt her eyes sting. She blinked quickly. "I was so scared. So scared I can't even explain it. Afraid of having nowhere to sleep. Afraid of Emma being cold, hungry. Afraid of someone seeing us on the street and thinking I wasn't capable, that I couldn't take care of her. And taking her away from me." Her voice broke at the end. A tear rolled down and she wiped it away quickly. That was the worst fear. Losing her. Because without her, I have nothing. She's everything. David leaned forward a little. His voice came out firm. "That will never happen. You are an incredible mother. Emma knows that. Anyone who looks for 5 seconds sees that." Sarah wiped away another tear. "I just wanted her to have a better life. That she wouldn't have to go through everything I did. That she would have more. And she will. You're making sure of that. Every day." Sarah looked at him. She saw sincerity in his eyes. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity. It was respect. Genuine respect. "Thank you," she said softly, "for listening, for not judging. Thank you for trusting me." They stood there, in the silence of the twilight. The sky was almost dark now. The first stars were beginning to appear. The air was cooling down slowly. Sarah felt lighter, as if sharing that had lifted a weight she had been carrying alone for too long. As if someone had finally seen, understood, and that made a difference. All the difference. The next day, Emma was especially excited. Sarah had just finished tidying the kitchen when the girl came running in, holding a piece of paper. "Mommy, where's David?" "In the office, I think." "Why?" "I made a drawing for him." Sarah smiled. "Go ahead then. But knock first." Emma ran to the hall. Sarah heard the little knock on the door, David's voice saying, "Come in." The door opening. "David, I made this for you." Sarah walked to the hall, just to watch from afar. Emma handed him the paper. David took it carefully and looked at it. He really looked. It wasn't that quick glance adults give to children's drawings. It was attentive. It was a simple drawing. A large yellow sun in the upper corner, a green and brown tree in the middle with a round canopy, and a house, small, a little crooked, but with a red door and 2 square windows. "That is beautiful," David said, and Sarah saw that he meant it. "It's the house I want to have someday," Emma explained, pointing to the drawing, "with a tree in the backyard, and always sunshine, no rain." David looked at the drawing for a while. He carefully ran his finger along the edge of the paper. "You will have that house someday, I'm sure of it." "You think so?" "I do. And it will be even better than in the drawing." Emma smiled, satisfied. Then she ran back to her corner. David stood looking at the drawing. He didn't put it down. He didn't place it just anywhere. He stood up and went to the cabinet. He pulled out a simple folder. He opened it carefully and placed the drawing inside, smoothing the edges. Sarah watched everything from the doorway. She saw the way he stored it, as if it were important, as if it were truly valuable. She felt her chest tighten, but it was different now. It wasn't pain. It was gratitude, pure and simple. 2 days later, Emma showed up again with another drawing. Sarah was in the living room, folding clean clothes. David was reading on the sofa, a thick book in his hands. "I made this for you," Emma said, handing the paper to him. David closed the book and took the drawing. This one had more detail than the others. Colorful kites in the sky, red, blue, green, yellow, large white clouds, flowers on the ground, many different colored flowers. I thought you'd like colors," Emma explained seriously. "You always wear dark clothes, but colors are nice. They make everything happier." David laughed, a low, genuine laugh. "They are. You're right. Thank you, Emma. It's perfect." Emma wiggled her feet, happy. "How can you draw?" "I know a little. Can you teach me?" David looked at Sarah, asking for permission with his eyes. Sarah nodded. "Of course I can. Come, sit here." Emma sat on the floor beside the coffee table. David got off the sofa and sat down next to her. He picked up her notebook and some pencils. "What do you want to learn?" "Everything. I want to draw just like you." David smiled. "Let's start with shading then. It's easier than it looks. Watch." He drew a simple circle on the paper. Then he began to shade one side with the pencil tilted. "See? The light always comes from somewhere. If the light is here," he pointed, "then this side stays lighter. And this side," he pointed to the other side, "gets darker. That's the shadow." Emma watched, fascinated, her eyes wide. "Let me try." She took the pencil and started to draw another circle, her tongue poked out in concentration. David guided her, showing her how to hold the pencil differently to make the shading softer. "That's it. Go lightly. Don't press too hard." Emma tried, she messed up, she tried again. "That's looking good," David said. "Look at that. It already looks like a real ball." Emma smiled, proud. Sarah stopped folding the clothes. She just watched, her hands frozen in the air holding a shirt. Emma was completely focused. biting her lip, her eyes shining with excitement. And David? David had a patience Sarah had never seen in anyone. He explained slowly. He let her make mistakes. He didn't rush to correct her. He just showed her again, in a different way. Until she understood, Sarah felt something strange in her chest. It was trust. Emma trusted him. Completely. Without fear. Without reservations. The way children trust when they feel safe. And that scared Sarah. Because what if he left? What if he got tired of this situation? What if Emma got too attached and was alone again later? How would she explain to her daughter that people leave, that they don't always stay? But at the same time, it was beautiful to see. Emma had never had this. She never had anyone but Sarah. She never had a figure like that in her life. Someone who would sit on the floor with her, who would teach patiently, who would really listen. Sarah was torn between fear and hope, between protecting her daughter from another loss or letting her live this moment, letting her be happy. "Mommy, look," Emma shouted, holding up the paper. "So I made a real shadow," Sarah smiled, coming back to reality. "It's beautiful, love. You're very good at this." Emma smiled and went back to drawing. David stayed there, beside her, guiding her patiently. Sarah went back to folding the clothes, but her eyes kept drifting back to them, to that scene, to the way David leaned over to get a better look at the drawing, to the way Emma laughed when she got it right, and she wasn't quite sure what to feel. Fear, hope, gratitude, all at once, maybe everything. Later, when Emma went to the room to get the teddy bear she had forgotten, Sarah took the opportunity to talk to David. "Thank you for being so patient with her." David was putting the pencils back in the box. "She's an incredible girl, smart, creative. It's easy to be patient with someone like that." Sarah hesitated. Then she said, her voice quieter, "She's getting attached to you." David stopped. He looked at her. "Does that worry you?" "A little, yes." He nodded slowly, understanding. "I'm not going to disappear, Sarah. I won't just leave you both. You say that now, and I'll keep saying it, tomorrow, next week, next month, because it's true." Sarah crossed her arms. It wasn't mistrust. It was protection. Mother's instinct. She's lost a lot of people in her life. Her father, her grandmother. I don't want her to lose anyone else. I understand, and I promise. I won't disappear, you can count on me. His eyes were steady, honest, unwavering. Sarah wanted to believe him with everything she had, but life had taught her not to trust so easily, to guard her heart, her daughter's heart. Still, maybe it was time to try to give it a chance. "All right," she said, finally, her voice still hesitant, but sincere. David smiled. A small but genuine smile, full of promise. Emma ran back in of the teddy bear in her arms. "Should we draw more? I want to learn light now." David laughed. "Let's do it. Light is the next lesson." They sat on the floor again. Sarah stayed in the living room, finishing folding the clothes. And as she listened to her daughter's laughter, her excited comments, David's patient explanations, she allowed a little hope to creep in. Just a little, but it was a start. That night, Sarah was putting away the clean clothes in the bedroom closet when David appeared at the door. "Sarah?" She turned around. "Hi. I need to grab an extra blanket from the closet. It got quite cold today. Can I come in?" "Of course." He walked into the room and opened the closet door. He searched the top shelf. He took the blue blanket that was folded there. As he was about to leave, he turned to say something. "Oh, I almost forgot." At the same moment, Sarah turned too to place a clean towel in the closet. They nearly bumped into each other. David's hands instinctively went up to keep from knocking her over. They gently touched her arm, softly, carefully. Sarah stopped. She looked up. Her eyes met his. For a second, they stayed like that, close, in silence. The world stopped. Sarah felt her heart race. She didn't know if it was fear or something else. Something she hadn't felt in a very long time. David noticed. He saw her breathing change. He felt the tension. He slowly pulled his hands away. Gently, he took a step back. "Sorry, I didn't see you turning." "It's okay," Sarah said, but her voice came out softer than she expected. "Hoarser." They stood there still, just a few steps apart. The silence was dense, heavy, full of unsaid, unnamed things. Then David nodded and left the room. Sarah stood still holding the towel, her heart still racing, the skin on her arm still warm where he had touched her. She didn't know what that had been, but she knew something had changed. Again. And this time it was different. The week had passed quickly. Sarah no longer felt strange in the house. She knew every room, where everything was kept. A routine had formed naturally. Emma was more animated than ever. She drew every day. She learned new things from David. She laughed more. That Friday afternoon, David appeared in the living room with a shopping bag. "I thought I'd cook dinner tonight. Pasta with vegetables. Nothing too fancy." Sarah was folding clothes on the sofa. "Want help?" "Actually, I thought we could cook together, all three of us." Emma, who was drawing in her corner, immediately looked up. "Can I help too?" "Of course. I need an official helper." Emma dropped her pencils and ran to the kitchen. Sarah smiled and followed her. The kitchen quickly became busy. David took the ingredients out of the bag: pasta, tomatoes, zucchini, carrots, garlic, olive oil. "Emma, can you wash the vegetables for me?" "I can." He put the vegetables in the sink and turned on the water. Emma climbed onto a stool and started washing each one carefully. "Is this good?" "Perfect." Sarah stood watching. David picked up a cutting board and started chopping the tomatoes. His movements were precise. He knew how to cook. "Do you cook often?" "Always. I learned from my mother. She used to say everyone needs to know how to make real food." Sarah picked up another knife. "Can I chop the zucchini?" "Of course." They worked side by side, Emma finishing the washing, Sarah chopping vegetables, David preparing the sauce. The kitchen smelled wonderful. Sizzling garlic, cooking tomatoes, herbs. Emma watched everything attentively. "Can I stir?" David handed her the wooden spoon. "You can. Slowly. Stir like this." Emma stirred with utmost seriousness, her tongue poked out. Concentrated. Sarah looked at the scene, her daughter helping, David teaching patiently. The kitchen full of life. When was the last time she had felt this? This feeling of normalcy, of family. It had been so long she couldn't even remember anymore. "Done," David said, turning off the heat. "Now we just need to cook the pasta." He put water on to boil. Emma watched the bubbles form. "Why does the water do that?" "Because it's hot. Very hot. That's why we can't touch it." "Oh." When the pasta was ready, David drained it and mixed it with the sauce. The smell filled the entire kitchen. "Sarah, can you set the table?" "Sure." She got plates, forks, napkins, glasses. She set everything up nicely. She placed a pitcher of water in the center. David brought the serving dish with the pasta. Emma carried the bowl with grated cheese, holding it with both hands. "Be careful," Sarah said. "I am being careful." They sat down, David at the head of the table, Sarah on one side, Emma on the other. David started serving. He put pasta on Emma's plate first, then Sarah's. "Thank you," Sarah said. As she was about to take her own plate, David stood up and pulled her chair out a little further. Sarah looked at him, surprised. "That's better," he simply said. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. Respect, care. Sarah felt her face warm up a little. "Thank you." She sat down again. She took the pitcher and filled the glasses. Emma's first, then David's. Then hers. Emma grabbed the cheese and put a generous spoonful on her own plate. Then she looked at David's plate. "Do you like cheese?" "I do." Emma put a spoonful on his plate too. "There. Now it's good." David smiled. "Thank you, Emma." They started eating. The pasta was perfect, the sauce seasoned just right. "It's delicious," Sarah said. "It turned out well," David agreed. Emma ate quickly, as always. "Slowly, love," Sarah reminded her. "But it's so yummy," they laughed. A contained but genuine laugh. The conversation flowed naturally. Nothing forced, nothing heavy. David asked if Emma had drawn anything new today. She excitedly told him about a drawing of butterflies she had made. Sarah commented that she needed to go to the pharmacy tomorrow. David offered a ride. Emma asked if she could have seconds. Sarah said yes. They were simple things, even silly things. But there was a lightness there, a peacefulness. Sarah looked around, at the set table, at the hot food, at her smiling daughter, at David listening attentively, and she felt something tighten in her chest. But it wasn't pain, it was longing for something she never had, and at the same time, gratitude for experiencing it now. "Mommy?" Emma called. "Yes, love?" "Are you crying?" Sarah touched her face. There was a tear there, she hadn't even noticed. No, I'm just happy." Emma smiled. "I'm happy too." David didn't say anything. He just looked at Sarah, a look that said he understood. After dinner, Emma helped take the plates to the sink. Sarah started washing. David dried. Emma was jumping around them. "That was the best dinner of my life," she said suddenly. Sarah stopped washing. Was it? "It was. We felt like—" Emma searched for the word. "A family." The silence that followed was dense. Sarah felt her throat tighten. She didn't know what to say. David placed the dish towel on the counter. He looked at Emma. It was special indeed. Emma smiled and ran back to the living room. Sarah and David stood there still, she with her hands in the water, he leaning against the counter. Their eyes met. It was a long look, full of unsaid things. Sarah saw something in that look, something that scared her and at the same time warmed her. She looked away first. She went back to washing the dishes, but her heart was beating faster, and she knew he had felt it too. That feeling that something was changing, that this moment, this simple dinner, meant more than it seemed. It meant home. 2 nights later, it rained. It was a heavy rain, loud, the kind that makes you want to stay indoors, under cover, quiet. Emma had fallen asleep early, tired from so much drawing and playing. David was in his office, working on something on the computer. Sarah stayed in the room, organizing some clothes. That's when she saw the old backpack in the corner. The one they had brought on that first day. She opened it. She checked to see if she had forgotten anything inside. Deep inside, tucked into a side pocket, she found a photo. Sarah pulled it out carefully. It was her and her mother, taken about 3 years ago in a park, both smiling, her mother's arm around her. Sarah sat on the bed. She held the photo with both hands. And she began to cry. It wasn't a silent cry, it was heavy, painful, accumulated. "I miss you so much," she whispered, her voice trembling. "So much." The rain beat against the window. The room was dark, only the light from the bedside lamp was on. Sarah wiped her face, but the tears wouldn't stop. "It's been a year since you left, and everything just got worse afterwards. I didn't know how hard it would be, how much it would hurt." She looked at the photo again, at her mother smiling, always strong, always present. "I wish so badly you had met Emma older. She's so big now, so smart. You would love to see her drawings." Her voice cracked. She leaned over, hugging the photo to her chest. That's when she heard a gentle knock on the door. Sarah. It was David. She quickly wiped her face. She tried to compose herself. "Come in." The door opened slowly. David walked in. He saw her sitting on the bed, her eyes red, the photo in her hands. "I'm sorry, I thought you were—" He stopped. "Do you want me to leave?" Sarah shook her head. "No. You can stay." He closed the door and stood there, unsure what to do. Sarah looked at the photo again. "It's my mother," she said, her voice rough. "It's a year today, a year since she died." David took a few steps and sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. "I'm sorry." Sarah wiped away another tear. "She was everything to me. My foundation. My strength. When she left, I was lost. I didn't know how I was going to handle everything alone. But you did. Barely. I barely managed. You managed. And you're here, with Emma, fighting every day." Sarah looked at him. Then she held out the photo. "I didn't want to see." David took it carefully. He looked, and he was very quiet. Too quiet. Sarah noticed. "Say, what is it?" David kept looking, his eyes fixed on the image, specifically on Sarah's mother. He began, but stopped. "You what?" David lifted his eyes. He looked at Sarah, and she saw something there. Shock, recognition. "I know her." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean?" David looked at the photo again. He ran his finger along the edge, and as if he needed to be sure. "This woman, your mother, she..." He took a deep breath. "She lived near us. When I was a kid, my mother and I had almost nothing. We sometimes went hungry, and she..." His voice cracked. "She would leave food on our doorstep." Sarah's eyes widened. "What?" "Food, bread, soup, sometimes just fruit. But she would leave it, always. My mother never knew who it was, but I saw her putting a bag on our doorstep, late at night. She didn't see me, but I saw her." Sarah gasped for air. "No, it can't be. It is her, I'm sure of it. This woman saved us many times. When we had nothing, she would leave something always." The silence that fell was heavy, charged. Sarah looked at the photo, at her mother, then at David, then at the photo again. "My mother helped you." "She did, and I never forgot. Never. I spent my whole life wanting to repay that, wanting to find her to thank her. But I didn't know her name. I didn't know where she lived. I only remembered her face." Tears began to fall down Sarah's face again. "But they were different now. So you helped me because of her." David looked at Sarah. His eyes were moist too. "I helped you because it was the right thing to do. But, yes, when I saw you and Emma in that park, something inside me told me to help. I didn't know why, but now I know." Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. The crying returned. But it wasn't just pain. It was something else, something bigger. "She always said," Sarah managed to speak through sobs, "that a gesture of kindness never dies, that it always comes back. Somehow. She always said that." David handed the photo back. Sarah took it with trembling hands. "And she was right," David said, his voice low. "Her kindness came back." "To you? To Emma?" Sarah looked at the photo, at her mother's smile, and for the first time since she died, Sarah felt something beyond pain. She felt that her mother was still there, somehow, taking care, protecting, through David, through this man who had been saved by her years ago, and who was now saving her daughter. Destiny had closed the circle. Kindness had returned. Sarah and David stayed there in silence. The rain beat outside, the photo between them, and they both knew that nothing would ever be the same, because this wasn't just a coincidence. It was something bigger. It was the kind of connection that cannot be explained, that is only felt, and they both felt it. The rain had subsided. Now it was just a fine drizzle, almost a whisper hitting the windows. Sarah and David had left the room. They needed air, space to process all that. They went to the porch. They sat in the wooden chairs. Sarah still held the photo. The silence between them was different now, deeper, full of meaning. David looked at the rain. Sarah looked at the photo. After a few minutes, he spoke. "I spent my whole life thinking about that woman, about her kindness, about how she saved us without expecting anything in return." Sarah looked at him. "When my mother died, years later, I promised myself I would live in a way that honored what she taught me, and what that woman on the doorstep taught us too." He took a deep breath. "I lived to be able to repay what I received. I worked. I built something, always with the idea that one day I would be able to help someone the way we were helped. But I didn't even know it was you, that it was her." His voice cracked a little at the end. Sarah felt the tears return. "My mother always said that, always, that a gesture of kindness is never lost. That it returns one day somehow to someone." She looked at the photo, at her mother's smile. "She lived that. It wasn't just talk. She truly believed it. And she lived that way, even when we had almost nothing." David nodded. And she was right. Look where we are, you, me, Emma, all connected because of her. Sarah ran her finger over the photo, over her mother's face. I wish so much she knew, that she could see that you're well, that what she did, what mattered. She knows, David said, firm. Somehow she knows. They were silent again. The rain continued to fall, softly, constantly. Then David looked at the photo in Sarah's hands. Can I ask you for something? Of course. Would you be able to make a copy of this photo? Sarah looked at him, surprised. You want a copy? I do. If you allow it, I would like to have it. To remember. To thank her. Even if it's late. Sarah felt her chest tighten, but it was a good tightness. You can keep this one. I have another one put away. Are you sure? I think she would have liked you to have it. David took the photo carefully. He looked at the image with respect, with gratitude. Thank you. I will cherish it. The next day, Sarah saw when David walked into his office with the photo in his hand. She didn't want to interrupt. She just watched from the doorway. He opened a drawer and took out the folder where he kept Emma's drawings. He opened it carefully. He placed the photo inside, next to the first drawing Emma had given him. Then he picked up the folder and placed it on his desk, in a visible spot, where he could see it whenever he wanted. Sarah saw everything, and she understood. Those weren't just objects, they were symbols. Her mother's photo, Emma's drawings, all together, all connected. 3 stories that were now one. The woman who helped, the boy who was saved, the daughter who was sheltered, past, present, and future, all intertwined. Sarah felt her eyes sting again, but she smiled because it finally made sense. It wasn't just luck. It wasn't just chance. It was something bigger, something her mother had planted years ago and which now blossomed in a way no one could have predicted. David noticed Sarah in the doorway. He turned and saw her standing there. Hi. Hi. He pointed to the folder on the desk. I put it here, near the drawings. I hope you don't mind. I don't mind. I think it's beautiful. David looked at the folder, then at Sarah. I'm starting to understand, he said, his voice low, why I felt like I needed to help you that day. It wasn't impulse. It wasn't just pity. It was, he searched for the words. It was destiny or gratitude or both. Sarah walked into the office. She stopped near the desk. Do you believe in destiny? Now I do. Before, I don't know, but after all this, how can I not believe? Sarah looked at the photo there, next to Emma's colorful drawings. My mother believed. She used to say things always work out in the end, that we just need to trust. She was wise. She was. David took a deep breath. Sarah, I want you to know, this isn't charity. It never was. It's gratitude. It's commitment. It's... He paused. It's the right thing to do. For me. For you. For her. Sarah felt her throat tighten. Thank you. For everything. For seeing us. For welcoming us. You don't have to thank me. You gave me something too. You gave me purpose. You gave meaning to everything I built. They stood there, still, looking at each other, understanding without needing to speak. Something had changed again. It wasn't just shelter. It wasn't just help. It was family. Not by blood, but by choice, by destiny, by kindness that returned. And they both knew there was no going back. This was forever. David didn't sleep that night. He stayed awake, sitting on his bed, thinking, looking at the folder on his office desk, at the photo, at the drawings. Everything made sense now, every piece in place. But sense wasn't enough. He needed to do more. He needed to ensure Sarah and Emma had a real future, not just a temporary roof. When the sun began to rise, he already knew what to do. Sarah woke up to the smell of coffee. She went downstairs and found David in the kitchen. He was making pancakes. The table was already set. Good morning, she said. Good morning. Sit. I made breakfast. Sarah sat down, feeling a little strange. David seemed different, more serious, more decided. Is everything okay? It is. I just need to talk to you after breakfast. Sarah felt her stomach clench. But it wasn't fear. It was anticipation. Emma appeared soon after, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Ooh, pancakes." "Good morning to you too," David smiled. They ate breakfast in silence. Emma ate 3 pancakes. Sarah barely managed to finish one. She was tense. When Emma ran off to get dressed, David turned to Sarah. "Can you come with me to the office?" "Of course." Sarah walked into the office behind him. David closed the door slowly. He stood still for a moment. Then he took a deep breath and turned to her. "I spent the night thinking about everything. Your mother, you, how everything connected." Sarah remained quiet, waiting. "And I made a decision." He took a few steps and stopped in front of her. "I want to truly change your future, not just help for now. I want to give you something solid, something that guarantees Emma will never go through what she did again, that you will never again be afraid of having nowhere to sleep." Sarah felt her eyes sting. "David, let me finish, please." She nodded. David continued, his voice firm. "I have the means to do this the right way, and I want to do it. It's not charity, it's gratitude, it's commitment, it's what I always wished I could do." He picked up some papers from the desk. "I want to give you a house, a real house, with the deed in your name, no debts, no pending taxes, with a maintenance fund to ensure you have no surprises." Sarah's eyes widened. Are you serious?" "Completely. I've already spoken with my lawyer. We can do everything properly. Protected. So no one can take it away from you." Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Tears began to fall. "I can't accept this." "Yes, you can. And you will. Because Emma deserves it. You deserve it." He placed the papers on the desk and continued. "Besides that, I want to help you with income. You said you clean houses, that you're good at it. So, I thought of 2 options. You choose." Sarah wiped her tears, trying to pay attention. "Option 1. I can help you set up a small business, organization and cleaning services, but premium, with a fixed schedule, guaranteed clients. I know people who need it. I can refer you, help you set everything up, supplies, advertising, everything." He paused. "Option 2. I have contacts. I know people who are hiring. I can refer you to a secure job, with a signed contract, hours compatible with Emma's schedule, nothing that forces you to be away from her." Sarah was trembling now. She couldn't speak. "And there's one more thing, Emma. I want to ensure she has support, a spot in a good community school or daycare, close to the new house, school supplies, transportation, everything she needs." David moved a little closer. "It's not an imposition. It's an offer. You choose. You decide. I just want you to have a chance, a real chance to start over." Sarah broke down. She sat in the chair and cried. She cried out everything she had held back, everything she had accumulated. David knelt in front of her. "Sarah, look at me." She lifted her red eyes. "You're not alone anymore. Do you understand? You have someone now. You have me, and I'm not going to disappear. I won't give up. I won't abandon you." "Why?" Sarah managed to ask. "Why are you doing all this?" "Because your mother saved me, and now I can save you. It's not charity. It's gratitude. It's destiny. It's what needs to be done." Sarah covered her face with her hands. The crying wouldn't stop. David waited. He didn't rush her. He just stayed close, letting her feel everything. After a few minutes, Sarah managed to compose herself a little. "I don't know what to say. Say that you accept, that you'll let me do this." Sarah looked at him, at the man who had appeared out of nowhere, who had changed everything, who had given hope when she had none left. "I accept," she whispered. "I accept. Thank you. Thank you for everything." David smiled, a relieved, genuine smile. "We're going to do this right, step by step. No rush. But it will happen. I promise." That afternoon, David sat with Sarah to show her the house options. He had done his research, found a few places. Simple, safe, in good neighborhoods. Sarah looked at the photos on the computer, still not believing it. "This one has a backyard," David pointed. I thought of Emma. She'd like to have space to play. It's perfect. We can go visit next week, no commitment, just so you can see, get a feel for the place. Sarah nodded, speechless. That's when Emma ran into the office. What are you two doing? Looking at houses, David said. Emma climbed onto the chair next to Sarah. Houses, what for? Sarah looked at David, asking for help with her eyes. David turned to Emma. So for you and your mother, we're looking for a new house for you to live in. Emma's eyes widened. A house just for us? That's right. With a backyard. This one has one. David showed her the photo. Emma looked fascinated. It's beautiful. Are we going to live there? If your mother likes it, yes. Emma looked at Sarah. Do you like it, Mommy? Sarah could barely speak. She just nodded. Emma smiled. Then she looked at David. Her expression became more serious. And are you coming with us? David paused. He looked at Sarah, then at Emma. I will stay close. Always. But are you going to live with us? I won't live in the same house, but I will always be close by. Whenever you need me, whenever you want me. Emma thought for a moment. So you're going to stay with us, like, forever? David smiled, a soft, honest smile. As long as you want me to. Emma didn't hesitate. She jumped out of the chair and hugged David, hard. With all the strength a 6-year-old has, I want you to stay, forever. David closed his eyes. He hugged Emma back. He felt her smallness, her trust. Then I'll stay. Sarah saw everything. And in that moment, she knew. This wasn't temporary. It wasn't fleeting. This was forever. David had entered their lives, and he wasn't leaving. Not because he had to, but because he chose to, and that choice changed everything. Sarah stood up and joined the hug. She hugged them both, Emma in the middle, David on one side, her on the other. And for the first time in a very, very long time, Sarah felt she had a family again. Not in the traditional way, not the way she had once imagined, but real, true, solid. A family built on kindness, on gratitude, on destiny. And that was more than she could ever have asked for. The morning was bright. Light streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating everything with a soft, golden glow. Sarah was making coffee, the aroma filling the room. David was putting bread in the toaster. Emma was still asleep upstairs. They were simple movements, routine. But there was something different in the air, something lighter, more hopeful. Sarah poured coffee into 2 mugs. She sat at the table. David joined her with the toast and butter. They were silent for a few minutes, just drinking coffee, eating. Quiet. But it was a comfortable silence, the kind of silence that only exists between people who understand each other. Then Sarah spoke, her voice low but firm. Since you appeared, I've started to believe again. David looked up, setting down his mug. Believe in everything, that things can get better, that there are good people in the world, that we're not alone, that it's worth keeping on trying. She stirred her coffee, looking into the mug as if the words were written there. I had lost that, you know, that basic hope that things will work out, that simple faith that tomorrow can be better than today. I was just surviving, day after day, believing in nothing beyond the next day, without planning, without dreaming. David remained quiet, listening attentively. But you changed that. You changed everything. You gave us back hope. You made me believe that Emma can have a different life, better. And I don't even know how to properly thank you. There aren't enough words. David placed his mug on the table carefully. Sarah, I only followed your mother's example. She taught me, even without knowing it. She and my mother, they showed me that a gesture of love never dies. It just changes addresses. It passes from one person to another. It crosses time. Sarah felt her eyes sting. My mother used to say that, exactly that love changes addresses, that kindness always comes back. Then she was right. The love she gave came back. To you, to Emma, through me. and it will continue to go forward. Always. Because that's how it works. Sarah wiped away a tear that escaped. Thank you for everything, for seeing us when no one else did, for staying when it would have been easier to leave. You don't have to thank me. You gave me something too, something I didn't know I was missing. What? Purpose, meaning family. A reason for everything I built to make sense. The word hung in the air, heavy, significant, full of promise. Sarah was about to answer when Emma appeared in the doorway, her blonde hair messy, her teddy bear tucked under her arm. Good morning. Good morning, love, Sarah smiled, opening her arms. Emma ran to her and snuggled into her lap. I slept well. That's good, my love. Emma yawned and looked at the table. Can I have breakfast with you? Of course you can, David said, already standing up to get the milk. Emma waited for her warm milk with a little coffee and plenty of sugar, just the way she liked it. She took a slice of toast and began to butter it with concentration. She ate in silence for a moment, swinging her legs on the chair. Then she looked at David with those blue eyes full of curiosity. Can I ask you something? You can. Always. Can you be our best friend? Forever? David and Sarah exchanged glances. Sarah felt her chest tighten. David smiled, that gentle smile Emma already knew so well. I can, absolutely. If you want me to, we want you to, Emma said, decisively biting her toast. Right, Mommy? Sarah laughed. A low but genuine laugh, full of relief. We do, yes. Emma smiled contentedly and went back to eating, as if she had solved the most important question in the world. David laughed too. And in that moment, the kitchen seemed even brighter, warmer, more like home. Later that morning, Sarah was on the porch. The air was cool with that smell of dew and wet earth. She looked out at the backyard, thinking about everything that had happened. David appeared with a blanket in his hands. It's cold out here. He placed the blanket over her shoulders carefully, adjusting it to cover her well. Sarah pulled the edges, wrapping herself in the warmth. Thank you, you always think of everything. I try, he said, sitting in the chair next to her. They stayed there, in silence, just looking at the backyard, the birds, the trees swaying in the wind. Then Sarah spoke, and her voice low. I still can't believe all this is happening. It seems surreal. Like I'm going to wake up and find out it was all a dream. But it's happening, it's real, you can touch it, feel it. I know, but it's hard to process. It wasn't long ago that we had nothing, and now we have everything. And you'll have more. Much more. This is just the beginning. Sarah looked at him. Are you sure about all this? Completely sure you want to do this? Absolutely. I've never been so sure about anything in my life. What if you change your mind? David turned completely towards her, his eyes steady. Sarah, look at me. She looked. I won't change my mind. I won't give up. I won't disappear. I'm here, and I'll stay here always. You can count on me. Sarah felt her throat tighten. All right, I believe you. I trust you. David smiled. Thank you. That means a lot. They went back to looking at the backyard. Their hands were resting on the arms of the chairs, close, almost touching. Sarah felt it. The warmth, the closeness. David felt it too, but neither of them moved. They just stayed there, close, together, and it was enough. In the following days, they began planning the move for real. Sarah visited the house David had shown her, the one with the small backyard. Emma went along, jumping up and down with excitement the whole way. When they walked in, Emma ran through the rooms, screaming with joy. Look, Mommy, it has 2 bedrooms. One for me. It does, love. And a big kitchen, and a living room. Sarah walked slowly through the house. She touched the walls, felt the texture, looked out the windows. She imagined their life there, and for the first time, she could see it, truly see it. A future, solid, safe, possible. What do you think? David asked. Sarah turned to him, her eyes shining. It's perfect, too perfect. But it's real, and it's going to be yours. Sarah could only nod, too emotional. 2 weeks later, the day arrived. the day of the official key handover. David drove Sarah to the notary's office. She was nervous. Her hands were sweating, her heart was racing. She signed the papers with trembling hands. The deed was in her name, Sarah Silver, hers alone. "Done," the notary said with a smile. "The house is officially yours, Ms. Silver. Congratulations." Sarah held the deed with both hands. "Mine. The house is mine." "Yours," David confirmed beside her, smiling. They left the notary's office. The sun was bright outside. They drove straight to the new house. When they arrived, Emma was already there with the neighbor who had been watching her. "Did you do it, Mommy? Is the house ours?" "I did it. Love, the house is ours, really ours." Emma jumped, shouting, "It's ours! It's ours! We have a house!" The neighbor said goodbye. David opened the door with the key. They walked in. The house was empty still, but clean. Smelling new. Ready. David turned to Sarah before she could start exploring. "Before you start moving in, I need to explain a few important things." Sarah stopped. "What?" David pulled some papers from the folder he had brought. "The house is a gift, an irrevocable gift. No strings attached, no conditions. You owe me nothing. Ever." Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but he continued. "In addition, I set up a maintenance fund for 24 months, 2 full years. Any problems with the house, any repairs, the fund covers it. You won't have any surprises." He showed her another paper. "And the home insurance is paid, the entire first year, against fire, theft, damage, everything. You can renew it later, but the first year is guaranteed." Sarah covered her mouth. "David, I don't know what. This is too much. Let me finish," he said gently. "There's one more thing, the most important." He put the papers away and looked directly into her eyes. "I promise to be present, always, in whatever way you want me to be, but the right way. I won't intrude. I won't show up unannounced. I won't control anything. I won't make decisions for you. Your life is yours." He took a step closer. "But I will be here. To take Emma to doctor's appointments, to go to her school performances, for Sunday dinners if you want me to, for any emergency, for any joy you want to share." His voice became softer. "I will be around, not to decide for you, but to walk alongside you, as family. If you accept me that way." Sarah couldn't take it anymore. The tears fell. She hugged him hard. "We accept. We want you to. Of course, we want you around." David hugged her back. Emma, seeing the scene, ran and joined the hug. "Family hug," she shouted, laughing. And there, in the empty house that was now theirs, the three of them stood like that, hugging, united, complete. In the following days, they began organizing the house for real. David helped with the basic furniture: bed, sofa, table, chairs. Sarah chose each piece carefully. Emma decorated her own room, choosing where everything would go. On the first official day living there, Emma took one of the drawings she had made, the one with colorful kites flying in the sky, and she taped it to the refrigerator door with a star-shaped magnet. "There, now it looks like a real house. Real houses have drawings on the fridge." Sarah laughed, her eyes wet. "They do, love." She went to the living room. She took her mother's photo that she had brought, now in a new frame David had bought. She placed it on the main bookshelf, in the center. "Thank you, Mum," she whispered, touching the glass. "For everything. For planting this. For him. For this house." David walked into the living room carrying a small box. Inside was a simple picture frame. And inside it, the first small notebook Emma had lost at the park. The one he had returned, the beginning of everything. He placed it on the shelf next to Sarah's mother's photo. "I thought it looked nice here. The beginning of everything." Sarah looked at her mother's photo, at the notebook, at the two things side by side. "It's perfect." That night, after a full day of organizing, they finally stopped. They were exhausted, but happy. David made hot chocolate, 3 full mugs, with whipped cream on top. Emma drank quickly, leaving a chocolate mustache. "It's so yummy," It's still hot slowly, Sarah warned, wiping her mustache. But Emma couldn't go slowly. She was too excited. Dear, can I go see my room again? You can, but be careful with the boxes in the hallways. Emma ran out, her footsteps echoing through the house. Sarah and David stayed in the kitchen, slowly sipping their chocolate. In silence, then Sarah stood up. She walked over to David. She adjusted the collar of his shirt, which was all crooked. There. It was bothering me. David smiled, touching the collar. Thank you, I didn't even notice. They stood like that, close, looking at each other. Then David stood up. I'll turn on the porch light. It's dark outside. He went to the porch and flipped the switch for the outdoor light. The lamp came on, illuminating the small backyard. He returned to the kitchen. Emma appeared running in the hallway, laughing. There's an echo in the hallway, listen, she shouted. Hi! The echo came back faintly. She laughed more. See? She ran back, testing it again. Sarah and David laughed. She's so happy, Sarah said. It's been so long since I saw her like this. You both deserve this lightness. Sarah looked at him, and in that look was everything. Gratitude, trust, something more. The sun was setting when the three of them finally went out to the backyard. It was small, but it had green grass, a few flowers in the corners, space. Emma ran, testing every corner, stepping on the grass barefoot. Can I plant flowers here, Mummy? You can, love. We can buy seeds. And can I have a swing? She pointed to the tree. You can, David answered. We can put a swing on that tree there. It's strong. Emma ran to the tree. She touched the trunk with both hands. It's going to be perfect. I'll swing every day. Sarah and David stood still in the middle of the backyard, side by side. The sky was orange and pink. The light was soft. The breeze was cool. Emma stopped running. She walked towards them more slowly. She looked at the house, at her mother, at David. Now we have a real house, she said seriously. Our house. And you'll always be here with us, right, David? David crouched down to her height. He held her small hands. Always, Emma. Whenever you want me to be. Promise? I promise. With all my heart. Emma smiled. She hugged him tightly. Then she pulled Sarah into the hug. Sarah bent down. She pulled David in too. And there, in the small backyard of their new home, the three of them stood hugging. The sun setting. The light warm. The air calm. Sarah closed her eyes. She felt Emma. She felt David. She felt the peace she hadn't felt in so long. This was home. Not perfect, not traditional, but real, true, built on kindness, on gratitude, on love. Emma pulled away. We're a family now, right? Sarah and David looked at each other. Their eyes met. Then Sarah smiled. I think so, love. We're a family, in our own way, but a real family. Emma jumped. I knew it. I always knew it. She ran back inside. Sarah and David stayed there side by side. Family, Sarah repeated. Family, David confirmed. They looked at each other one more time. They didn't need to say anything else. Everything had already been said. Everything had already been felt. Now it was just about living. Together. The night fell. The lights of the house were on. Warm, welcoming. Emma slept in her new room, hugging her teddy bear, her face peaceful, happy, safe. Sarah stayed in the living room, looking around, touching the furniture, still processing. David was about to leave when Sarah called him. David, wait. He stopped. He turned around. Sarah took a few steps. Thank you for everything, for giving us this, for giving us hope. David walked back a few steps. You gave me hope too, you and Emma. You gave meaning to everything. You gave me family. Sarah smiled, tired but genuine. We are. You'll be happy. I know it. We're going to be okay, right? And you'll be here. Always. I promise. Sarah nodded. David turned. He looked back one last time. Good night, Sarah. Sleep well in your home. Good night, and thank you, always. He left. The door closed. Sarah stayed there. in the living room of the house that was now hers. She walked to the bookshelf. She looked at her mother's photo, at the little notebook beside it. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered. "You saved us. Again, even after leaving." She turned off the lights. She went to the bedroom. She lay down next to Emma. She looked at the ceiling in the dark. She listened to her daughter's breathing. And for the first time in a long time, she slept without fear, only with peace, the peace of someone who has a home, the peace of someone who has family, the peace of someone who knows everything will be all right. The end. Kindness never dies. It just changes addresses. It travels across time, people, and generations. And when it returns, it brings love, hope, and the feeling of belonging. Sarah, Emma, and David were not a traditional family, but they were a true family, built on choice, on gratitude, on the destiny that intertwined three souls, and that was stronger than anything else, because the love that is chosen, built day by day, that love remains forever. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.